So it's Saturday, March 24th, and I want to make a little video about watering my garden. Usually the hose is already out and the water is already turned on a bit. And so the only thing that's kind of important is that you don't want any kinks in the hose. So like, see over here where it's a loop, I got to pay attention to see if that gets kinked up, because the water will stop coming out of the hose. So here's the hose, and I usually use it on shower, but I have also used it on mist and on flat. And I'll show you why. Because shower is like a cone of water, and whatever's in the middle doesn't get water. So here it is on shower. I have it on where I'm gripping it full strength, and I like to go back and forth because if you stay on one, the water will all pool on the top and you're not giving it enough time to drip down into the soil. I don't know if you can see that in the middle one there. The water is like pooling already, and I'm trying to give it a chance to soak in. Over here you can see how the water is like there's nothing in the middle. It's really only on the edges. But in this case, I don't really care because I need the pots to be watered and I need the soil to be watered. And I'm basically making those bricks in the middle, get out of here, bee, the space that doesn't get water. So this is okay. Let's stop for a second. Let the water soak in. So the thing about watering my plants is that things that are in containers always need more water than what's in the earth. In the earth, it gets water from basically the whole yard, and it also retains water from the rain better. But container plants like these, they're heating up from the outside and they get drier, and so they need a little extra water, especially if the temperature goes up. Then I move up here. Again, I've kept it on the shower, which is a little bit strong, but I don't have any new plants in here to worry about knocking over. So I'm soaking the planter box up here, and I don't mind that some of the water is falling below because it's going to drip down the deck into the soil, and that's fine with me. But you see I'm giving it like a good 30-minute douse. Not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of dousing. Okay? Now, if for some reason you knew you were going to water today but not tomorrow, you would want to spend a little extra time. So you'd water just like I did, and you can see there's not really any water pooling anymore, and you'd go back and you'd do the same thing for the same amount of time to really, really get in there. But since I know I'm going to water tomorrow, I'm not too worried about it. Okay, now we have like a straight line of plants that all need water, and none of them are so tender that the spray should knock them over. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this to flat, and that's going to create like a straight line of water. It does it? Yeah. And that's going to go just back and forth on this line. And it's kind of strong. I mean, you can make it a little less strong by not squeezing the handle all the way, but a lot of times it makes a horrible noise if you do that. Oh, it's not making a noise. I'm going to squeeze it just a little bit less. And I'm going to go back and forth. And I water the soil in between the plants too, because down below there is milkweed that needs watering, and the roots of these plants sometimes really go side to side. You don't really know where the roots are. They're not just under the plants. So just a good soak. You can see over here some of the water is pooling a little bit, and that's fine, but that's all that needs. And then I come over here and I do the same thing, watching the hose for kinking up. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the flat. Start over there with the daylilies, because I see that I didn't get all the soil around the daylilies. There's no benefit to watering the plant on the leaves. You're really just watering the soil. This hurts my hand, so I'll switch hands. And now I'm doing the same thing. I'm going back and forth with the flat spigot, and I'm just trying to water the soil that's open soil. The grass is getting a little wet anyway, but you're not out here to water the grass. Okay? Maybe by the time I'm in recovery, the sprinklers will be turned on and the grass will be getting water, but our grass never needs extra water. It gets wet from me doing this, and that's all it needs. So it's fine. Okay. Now we're getting to this group of pots that are over here. And you're going to notice that if you spritz too hard, the dirt is going to fly out of the pots and get onto that column. And then that's going to need spraying down too. So I try to put it back to shower. And I also don't hold it as hard because of the force of the water. Now these plants that are here, like on the ground, right here, I'm trying to get my finger into the point. These that are on the ground here, I'm probably going to plant those before my recovery so they won't be sitting here. But like I explained before, anything that's in a pot needs more water than what's in the ground. So by the time you're watering, they'll be in the ground. But let's look at this group. So here's some succulents. Now, succulents by definition don't need as much water, but I like to give them enough to just soak the topsoil. And then this plant over here in the red pot, those are called asters. And then the ones on the ground are the mint and the welcome sign. And you see I'm getting dirt on the column there. I'm going to spray that off. I'm trying not to, but it's the angle of how I'm holding it. And then by the time you're helping out, I probably will have something in that gray pot to grow. And you'll just water it the same. You want to give it a good dousing, because the water is going to stay like in the top third of the soil, and that's not where the roots are. Unless you water it enough, the water's not going to get down to the roots. Now this red potted plant, those roots, I don't know how far down they go. They're probably still in the upper half. And you can see the mint there. There's a bee buzzing around behind me. I just try to ignore him. He's the bee that lives over there above the chimes in the roof, and he gets annoyed. But I just let him be. Sometimes I spray him with water to tell him to chill out. Okay, this little grouping of plants, the green pot in the front is empty, but it will probably have something in it by the time you're watering. And this soil definitely goes all over the place. So I try to use a softer hand. I bring the hose up a little bit. Gotta make sure that the hose is not getting all like in this area and messing up those plants. And I try to bring this up a little higher so that it's more of like a straight down. This is tricky to do with one hand. I gotta hold the hose with one hand so I can hold the spigot down. Now the reason I want to go a little more gently, it's very annoying that it makes a loud sound, but this is definitely plants that get all over the walls if you spray them too hard. Oh, there's a weird bug I'm going to spray. So I just try to spray all the pots in a circle a little bit. Make sure that they're getting all the water. Try not to get too much earth onto the house. If I do, I rinse it off. This plant right here, these are onions that are growing, literally, so we can cut off scallions and use them in food. This is called sage. It gets taller and taller, and then it grows flowers that the hummingbirds love. This is just a creeping, I don't know the name of this, I could look it up, but it's going to hang down over the sides of the pot. And then hopefully I'm going to plant something that's going to grow straight up in the middle to attract hummingbirds. This, I don't remember what it is. Can't wait to find out. I think it's another plant that hummingbirds like, but I have no recollection. I had to take out everything else that was in here because it was an annual and it died. Okay, so these look pretty wet, pretty good. This one is tricky. It really needs a lot more water. So if you're going to water them every day, you can do about as much time as I did. But if you're going to water them every other day, make sure you soak them a little longer. Check the wall over here. Spray the wall down if it's too wet. Alright, let's bring the hose back out off the patio so we're not messing things up. And let's get over to this section. So this is empty right now, but I know there's milkweed under there. So I water it just because our sprinklers aren't on and otherwise we wouldn't be getting any water. And these little guys in the corner under the basket, they need water too. Okay, I'll stop there for a second and then I'm going to come over here to this section. These are irises growing up in the middle there. I took them from the backyard and I replanted them here last year. And I can't remember if they flowered. I think they do. Irises are swamp plants. They like water. So I like to give them a good dousing. This is a gardenia bush over here. She's new to the ground. She lived in a pot for like literally 4 years and somehow stayed alive. And I have finally graduated her to being in the earth. And then this over here is hostas. Hostas, this is what you watered first when you were over there in the corner of the yard. Those were hostas. These are hostas. And they are the babies of the ones that are in the corner over there. I split them a couple years ago. I don't get crazy with the hostas because they don't actually need tons of water, and those are in the ground. And the ground, like I said, holds water better. I don't know what these are called. They have pretty purple flowers. They survived over the winter somehow, and they're coming back. Again, they're in containers, so they need water, good dousing of water. They also don't get necessarily that much when it rains, so I keep an eye on them. You don't want the top to be too dry. This is a hummingbird plant, same as was in that pot over there on the ground. This is sage, or they call it salvia. And I like to let the water, see how it's pooling a little bit there? I like to let it soak in before I finish watering that one. Okay, this is a hydrangea. It's in a pot because, I don't know, I wish I had a whole wall of hydrangeas. That's another story. And this is another same baby hosta from the mommy plants in the corner. Give them lots of water. The reason they're doing better than these guys over here, even though they were planted at the same time years ago, is that, as you can see, these get more sun through there, and those stay in shade longer. Hostas are shade plants, so they're going to grow similarly, but these are going to get bigger because they get a little extra sun. And then this looks like nothing, but it's definitely not nothing. This is Joe Pye weed, and Joe Pye weed can take over your entire yard. I've planted it in a little tiny section with the hopes that it does not spread invasively. I would love for it to spread invasively if, let's say, it was back there, because it attracts a lot of bees and butterflies. But people tell me it becomes unmanageable like bamboo. So I'm trying to keep it in one spot. And it has actually poked through under the ground, but I just gave it new soil and new compost. So the buds are still under there. They'll crop up though. This section gets very saturated very quickly, as you can see. And it takes a while for the water to soak through. You don't have to worry that much about this little spot here, because Joe Pye weed is pretty hardy no matter what you do to it. So now I'm just going to come back and give everybody in containers a little extra. Give this guy a little extra. Give these guys a little extra. This is still, there's plenty of water not seeping in right there, so I'm going to leave that. Give the irises a little extra. We already did those pots plenty fine. And give this a little bit extra. These pots are fine, but I'm going to give them a little douse because I'm going to be planting some stuff. A little extra over here. A little extra for everybody. Everybody gets seconds. Here's the hostas. The ones in the ground don't need as much water as the ones in the pots. Extra for the herbs, parsley and dill. And then I just try to pull the hose out of Harry's way. And I make sure that it's not kinked. Looped is fine. Kinked is not good for the hose. It's not good for the water pressure. And leave this one on top. Now just remember that water that's in, I don't even turn off the water day to day because it's annoying to have to go turn it on. It doesn't really waste water because this does not really drip. The water just stays in there. But this water heats up. So if you come to water it, come to do watering later in the day, that first bit of water that's in the hose is going to be very hot. And I would suggest you just spray it away somewhere, not on the plants. And then you proceed. Okay, thank you.